Hey, leader, and welcome to another episode of the L3 Leadership Podcast, where we are obsessed with helping you grow to your maximum potential and to maximize the impact of your leadership. My name is Doug Smith, and I am your host, and we recorded this episode live from our Burgo Realty Studios. Today, you're going to hear me interview my good friend Jeff Hancher, who is publishing his first book, which is called Firm Feedback in a Fragile World, and it's an incredible story of how this book even came to be and how he's publishing it through the John Maxwell Company. You're going to love hearing that. But the book is all about the power of feedback in our lives, and I know as I was talking with Jeff, my mind was just going off on how many times my life has been changed by feedback, and how if I'm really going to be an impact player and an impact leader, then I need to be able to give firm feedback, and that's what really changes lives. And so I think you're going to love this episode. There's so much to unravel. Get ready to take some notes. Let's dive right in. Here's my conversation with Jeff Hancher. Jeff Hancher, welcome to the L3 Leadership Podcast. I can't believe, I'm 400 plus episodes in and have not had you on. And we need to do more work together, my brother. We were just talking. I love how God is using you and what you're doing in the whole leadership space.
Right. The feeling is mutual as well. All that you've done with your conferences, how you're pouring into leaders, how you're pouring into your community. Man, it inspires me to be better. So I'm glad we connected on the show, and I'm sure the future there's going to be a lot more connection to happen.
Yeah, well, I want to dive in. I'm super excited for you. Your first book is out, Firm Feedback in a Fragile World, and there's a really cool story on how you even got to publish this book we'll get into. But I just want to start off, out of the thousands of topics you could have covered, we were even talking about earlier, you could have potentially written a book on your story because you have such a great one, but you chose this. Why? And what problem are you trying to solve in the world?
Well, I chose this because maybe it's the thing I'm most passionate about. I'm super passionate about leadership. And the reason I am is because I'm a product of leadership, and I'm a product of firm feedback. I grew up in gross poverty. I go to the military. I transition. I think I'm going to go to college on the GI Bill, but I get the call that I had gotten so many times from my dad, which is they're sending mom home in hospice. He's having a leg amputated. I put college on the back burner. I go home. I get the nurses all set up. I need a seasonal job just to help pay some bills, help them pay rent. And so I went and got a newspaper, which is how we got jobs back in the day. And I didn't have a lot of skill. So I applied to be a truck driver. And I was hired to be a truck driver at Cintas Uniform Company in 1996. And what I thought was going to be a seasonal job ended up being a 24-year career. Wow. And I loved the truck driver job. I mean, Doug, I was making $21,000 a year. I was killing it.
Let's go.
I bought a new Chevy truck. I mean, life was good, but I saw these people running around with shiny shoes and suits and ties, and they drove fancy cars like Honda Accords. And I'm like, I want to know who these people are. Well, these were salespeople. So I end up becoming a salesperson, and I'm having a pretty good rookie year. They're telling me I'm on President's Club pace. And about halfway through the year, I was going to my first sales call one morning, and my dad calls and says, you need to get to the hospital. Now, I'd gotten that call a lot, but today it was different. Today was the last time that I would get to hold and see my mom, and she passes. And it devastated me. And I mean, rocked me. I was in a deep depression. My attitude was poor. I lost motivation. But prior to that, I had a sales manager that did things like took me in the bathroom and taught me how to tie a Windsor knot. He knew a little bit about my background. He taught me what collar stays were. He took me to Joseph A. Bank and told me the fashion of belt and shoes need to match and the difference between a sport coat and a suit. I grew up poor. I didn't know anything. And this is the same sales manager that would keep me after hours and teach me sales scripts and found how to overcome objections and ride with me in the car. And now here I am having a good rookie year, and my life crumbles and falls apart, and I'm ready to quit. I'm ready to give up. I don't have any motivation. He let this go on for about 2 weeks, and he pulled me into his office, and the first words out of his mouth was this: enough's enough. I've given you time to grieve. You have an 18-month-old son, and you want to have a family, and you've told me that one of your motivations is to make sure that your kids never experience the life that you had. So you have two choices. You can get your head back on straight and become the person I know that you can be, or you won't be on my team. You have 24 hours to decide. Now, after that day, Doug, I got promoted 10 times. I started my own company. And I often look back and wonder, if I didn't get that firm feedback, would I be who I am today? And now it's become my life's mission to teach leaders to do what he did for me, because there's literally lives in the balance, and leadership is a high calling.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing your story. And we have very similar stories, actually. And I'm curious, I've heard this, and I've said this often, that, kids who grew up with backgrounds like we had, or circumstances that we had, often the only way that they actually get out is if someone shows them another way, and
Yes.
It sounds like that's absolutely been the case for you. It certainly was the case for me. And is there anything you want to say? Was he the only person that did that? I'm just curious, were there other people that showed you glimpses of who you could be? I love hearing parts of that. Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah. And I write about a lot of them in the book to honor them. I use their names when I'm honoring them. The ones that I learned what not to do, I don't use their real name. But you can learn a lot from a bad leader, right?
Absolutely.
But yeah, between, being introduced to my faith journey, and faith leaders in my life, but also business leaders. Here's a kid that, one of my chores was cutting squares out of tin coffee cans and pop riveting them to the floor of our car. I didn't know business jargon. I didn't know, I had nothing to model after. My dad never worked. My mom never worked. I didn't have anything. But there were leaders that came across my path that saw potential and poured everything they had into helping me through, big deposits and big withdrawals, both, and striking that balance of earning the right to give the feedback. And literally, Doug, I stand before you and the listener today to tell you, short of my faith and the leaders that have been placed in my life, I am not who I am. Those are the things. And there have been numerous leaders that have stepped in and supported me, whether directly or indirectly, as mentors. And it's changed my life.
Yeah, and I certainly want to get into giving firm feedback, but something I want to point out and admire you for, because again, it sounds like similar. I had a leader like that as well, Larry Betancourt, who basically made me draw a line in the sand and said, hey, this is it. Like, I can't let you continue to lead in the way you're leading and live the lifestyle you're living. So what are you going to do? And when that firm feedback comes, we have a choice, right? Like, I could have easily had a pity party for myself or said, like, who are you? You don't know what I'm going through, and gone the other way. And we're not having this conversation today. What is it about you that allowed you to receive that feedback and not, have a pity party or get grumpy or say, what does that guy know? Because I see so many leaders who they receive feedback and it destroys them and they go the other way.
Yeah. And I love that question, Doug, because I am not a likely candidate to receive feedback well.
Right.
I was hurt. I was discarded. I had a very hard shell of an exterior. My heart was hardened. I didn't take anything from anybody. Don't tell me what to do. I was the infamous stray dog. You can imagine the picture that you see this stray dog along the road, and you can see its rib cage. It's near death's door. Its hair is a mess. And you feel this compassion and you want to save the dog. So what do? You get out of your car and say, hey, Skippy, jump in the car. Everything's going to be fine. And the dog just jumps in. No. Matter of fact, you go to the dog and you go to try to help it. And what's it do? It bites you. And you're like, hey, pal, settle down. I'm just here to help. I was that dog. I was ready to bite anybody. Why? Because I had been hurt. But here's what we do for the stray dog. When it's not listening to us, hey, pal, I'm here to help. We start to show it, not tell it. We give it some treats. We lay down a blanket. We change our posture. We give it more treats. We start to develop a level of rapport. And then slowly over time, what happens is the dog gets in the car. But that's just the beginning. because then we have to earn the trust. This is what those leaders did to me. Because if we just go in, screaming bloody murder, I'm here to help. I'm here to help. Go faster, do more. That might not be the answer. And we can be justified as leaders with our head on the pillow saying, hey, listen, I did all I could. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to listen. No, we have to earn the right. And we do that by capturing the hearts and minds of people. When we capture their heart, we can then earn the right to pour life into them. That's what leaders have done for me. That was the turning point, because I didn't have ears for nobody. I had a chip on my shoulder. I was ready to fight, literally and figuratively. I was just angry and didn't want to be told what to do. That's the answer. That's what transformed me. That's what I'm trying to help leaders to do.
At Endosha, we help transform visions into results. What does that mean? We often work with companies who are doing amazing things that have incredible products and services, but fail to communicate what they do properly and market themselves effectively. We passionately serve entrepreneurs, business leaders, and visionaries to see what's in their heart and their visions for the future come to life. We do that by providing fractional marketing leadership and creative execution all in one. That's what we call VCMO. With VCMO, you get a marketing director and a team of creative professionals to help execute all of your marketing needs, all for one monthly cost. How do we do all this? We do it 3 ways. Number 1, we get your vision. We get excited about your mission and your trajectory as a company and come alongside to see you go further, faster. 2, we have a team of talented strategists and creatives to get all of the work done. And 3, we flat out work freaking hard for you and your company. Reach out today. Let's start a conversation.
Yeah, that's so good. And I think when people hear your story, I'm thinking to myself, like, I want to be that kind of leader that poured into Jeff and that changed Jeff's life. And now he not only changed his life, he's writing a book about it. And it's all down to the impact that one person made. How can we become leaders who give that kind of feedback and are those type of leaders that transform lives forever?
They are. It is transformational. And here's some great news. It is learned. Now, here's what I will tell you. None of us are here listening today because we want to win leadership trivia. This is a leadership podcast. Content is great. But what I will tell you is we got to get over the consuming and start taking action. But it is taught. It starts first with desire. If you're going to be in leadership, you truly have to have a heart that says, I want the people that I lead to reach their fullest potential, and I want to be a part of it. Leadership transcends a better parking spot and a corner office and a bigger W-2. If you're a leader and you're in it for those things, you can do that, but it's kind of like petting a cat backwards. Why would you? The cat's miserable. You're miserable. Nobody's having a good time. Don't do it. But if you've said, look, I don't know what the heck I'm doing as a leader, but here's what I do know. I love people and I want to give them all that I have. Great news. There is a framework. There is a framework that you can learn, muscle memory, robotic when you start, but then it becomes part of who you are, your leadership DNA. And that's what I try to outline in the book, those tools, so that there's at least an understanding.
Yeah, start to walk us through that. I think a lot of people resonate in this. By nature, in my leadership journey, I'm a people pleaser, and I want to love people. But also, when it comes to me actually giving them feedback, I'm fearful that I'll lose the relationship. And it's been a real big growth journey for me to learn this skill as well. So I'm curious, especially for those people pleaser oriented leaders, what are the steps we can start to take to actually learn this? Because I agree with you, it's a learned skill.
It is a learned skill. And I would say this, and I'm not stereotyping anybody, I'm just generalizing. The passive or the people pleaser, they as soon as they identify with it, what tends to happen is they overcompensate. The pendulum just swings far the other way. They blow, right? Whatever that might look like. Then you have the aggressive leader, which is the extreme opposite, and they just hit people. And by the way, that's dangerous because you can get really good results by hitting people. But in the middle is the assertive leader. And that's the sweet spot. Now, look, this is very challenging because it is very fragile. We have multiple generations in the workforce. We're post-pandemic. Are we in the office? Are we not? Are we remote? Or what days are we in? Well, I'm not doing that. I quit. We're through the Great Resignation. Quiet quitting is costing the global economy $9 trillion a year. 65% of leaders in America think they give great feedback. Their subordinates have told us, by the tune of 21% of them have said, I haven't received any feedback in the last 7 days.
Wow.
There's a gap here, Doug. There is a gap. But that passive leader, here's the beauty of why I love teaching this. It doesn't matter what your leadership style is, because feedback at the essence of definition is data. It's just data. If you earn the right to give feedback, regardless of how critical the feedback is, it's smooth sailing. And I'll role play it because this is going to set somebody free. And Doug, you and I are friends, so you're going to be a good sport, hopefully.
Sure, let's go.
So, hey, Doug, man, good to see you again, brother. Listen, we got this conference coming up. There's going to be a lot of amazing people there. Hey, let me ask you, if we're at a conference like that, and I smelled that you had a bad odor coming from your breath, you had some bad breath, maybe too much coffee. If that ever happened and I noticed it, would you want me to tell you?
100%. Please, please,
Okay.
please.
Yeah, I would be happy to. Hey, why would that be important to you that you would want me to tell you?
Because I don't want to smell. I don't want people to be turned off because I have bad breath or anything like that. So it would make me better. I would have a better experience at the conference.
Yeah, and I know that you want to serve people, and first impressions are important to you. Yeah. Now the table is set. 2 weeks from now, we're at a conference. We're hanging out. We're catching up. And I say, hey, Doug, hey, you remember a couple weeks back, you asked me to tell you if you had bad breath? Man, I got some great news. Today is that day, and I have mints. And I hand you a mint. How do you respond to me when I give you the mint?
Thank you. And I'm excited.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So there's data. The data is the bad breath. You and I are at the convenience store, or me and anybody. And you're behind me in line, and I smell this odor coming. And I turn around and I say, your breath stinks. Now they're offended.
Right.
Who are you to tell me that my breath stinks? Check this out. It's the same data. The difference is, in one scenario, I earned the right to give you critical feedback. It is normally not something somebody wants to hear. So what we've done in that moment is the first step of the framework, which is set the expectation. Get the buy-in. Remember my story about my sales manager? When he gave me the firm feedback, he said, you've told me that you wanted it to be different for your kids than you had it. That's what you told me. Your behavior right now is not representative of what you told me when you were of sound mind. And I'm here to remind you of that, and I'm not going to let that happen. He earned the right. Passive leader, people pleaser. This is freedom. This is freedom. Because now it's not as gut-wrenching. I'm about to throw up. My palms are sweaty. Am I having a heart attack? Because I know if I go in there, they might cry. They might yell. They might get emotional. They might be embarrassed. And Lord help us, they might quit. And I already have 5 recs open. I don't want any of that to happen. And we dread feedback so much, especially the people pleaser, they'll avoid it because maybe it'll get better on its own. And we know it never does. If you love too much without feedback and accountability, you will be liked very much. You're the leader that brings in the sheet cake for every birthday, has the baby pony rides in the front lawn of the office, the ice cream socials, and everybody loves you. They don't respect you. Respect comes through earning the right to give accountability. This is the framework. Too much accountability without expectations, you're a monster. Just telling people what the expectations and no accountability, you're not respected. It's the balance of the three things that help you become a strong leader.
Wow. That's so good. And I'm just going through as you're saying that in my head, like every significant period of growth that I've had in my life and in my career and leadership journey, I'll probably went back to at some point, one person being willing to share feedback with me, data with me that changed the trajectory of everything. Like I can't think of a time where that wasn't the case. This is huge.
Huge.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that, Doug. Everybody listening and will ever listen to this show, where you stand right now in your life is a result of the feedback you've been given or the feedback that has been omitted that you should have received. That's who we are. Yeah. That's who we are right now today. Why are some people further ahead of us? And I mean, look, you got work ethic and skill and all this stuff, but at the end of the day, it's feedback. That's why leaders, we can't miss this. We can't. Lives are literally in the balance.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing the whole people pleaser thing. You know, for me, I was definitely on the passive side for a lot of my career. And actually, I know we've both been influenced by Mark Cole and John Maxwell significantly. I was having lunch with John and I just said, hey, how can I get over this whole people pleasing thing? And he said, let me tell you a story. And he said, and he shared it openly, but he was like, hey, Mark is very liked. And I went to Mark one day because I had the same leadership issue. We were both people pleasers. And he said, Mark, the good news is everyone loves you and everyone likes you, which is great. The bad news is your leadership isn't enough to get people where they need to go, which I'm like, oh man, I can't imagine receiving that. But he said, you have to make the decision that you'll always love people, but not depend on their love. And that was absolutely huge for me because I'm someone like I want all, like you're saying, like, hey, if you see blind spots in me, I want to know, I want to grow. And I crave that so desperately. But it's so funny. I was so fearful of people rejecting me or rejecting the feedback that I wasn't willing to give them the gift that I desperately yearn for. And just recognizing that I don't need to depend on people's love was a game changer in me actually being able to love people actually well by not being passive, but being assertive.
That's so good. That is, I mean, you talk about a revelation of leadership right there. Most of the leaders that are in their role right now, they got there because somebody was tough on them and they were okay with that. Yeah. It's giving it. Matter of fact, I mean, think about this, listener. If you were to take 5 seconds, which is all it's going to take, and you were to tell me your Mount Rushmore of leadership, these are the people, like, if they wouldn't have came in my life, I wouldn't be who I am. It take you 5 seconds and you got them. Here's my question. Now that you have them in your mind, were they tough on you? Were these people tough on you? The answer is always yes. Yeah. And then the follow-up, did they care deeply? Yes, they did. This is the chasm that we need to cross, that we're not here to be bosses people report to. We're here to become leaders that people don't want to let down. Those 4 leaders that you're thinking about, you didn't want to let them down. If they ever said these words, I'm disappointed in you. Oh my gosh, what have I done? Yeah. Because they just poured so much into you. You just didn't want to let them down. When Sean had that conversation with me that day, my sales manager, and he said, enough's enough. I felt like, man, what am I doing? Man, I got to get this right. I was in pain, Doug. I was in pain. I just wanted to stay in that place, but I knew he was right and he earned it. Man, I mean, that's something that you could sit and get emotional about, thinking, who would I be today? Who would I be? That's what we have to offer as leaders.
Yeah, and where your challenge, I love when you talked about the gap is also the feedback we didn't receive. And if as leaders, we don't have the courage to give feedback, we're basically saying, hey, you're on your own as far as your growth and development, and they may never get it for the rest of their lives. And I mean, how much unrealized potential is there in the world because there weren't people who read your book and actually took a deep dive to give firm feedback?
It's true, man. It's true. There's a cost of not doing it right. Look, there's plenty of benefits. There's plenty of prizes and Scooby snacks for doing this right. I mean, business results, culture. Hey, look, let's not lose sight of legacy. I have people still to this day that I haven't led in 15 years that call me boss, that call for advice. Now, that's not me tooting my horn, toot, but to say, like, man, how fulfilling is that when you can feel like you played a small part in helping somebody get to where they want to go. Now, look, man, if results motivate you, this is a great way to drive results. This retention thing we're talking about, this recruiting thing that we're talking about. Here, I'll give everybody listening the formula for recruiting, because you all have open requisitions. You will attract who you are, not what you want. You will attract who you are, not what you want. You build that leadership brand, people will be telling everybody from the mountaintops, this is the place you want to work. You're not going to find Doug Smith anywhere else. Matter of fact, it would behoove you to take a pay cut and work for this guy. He will take you places that no other training program could ever take you. This success is caught more than taught. Doug's not everywhere. He's here. This is where you need to be. And people will be your best recruiters when you become that leader. This is the leader we're talking about.
It's so good. And so we're focused right now pretty much on the upside of giving feedback, because you can transform a life forever and be on that Mount Rushmore for people and be the kind of leader like your sales manager was. But again, going back to the teachability side, not everyone responds and say, gee, thank you, Jeff. That was the best feedback. Thank you so much. I know it's going to change my life. Like, what do we do when people won't hear our feedback, or we're giving it and we just feel like there's a wall between us? Any advice there?
Yeah, well, that comes the third pillar of the book, which is accountability. Look, here's what we know. Leaders cannot teach willingness. We can't do that. That's not our role. We can't say, hey, everybody, we're going to teach about willingness today. No, you either bring that or you don't. Doug, have you ever went over the speed limit?
Yeah, of course. Every day.
Yeah. Every day, right?
don't tell anyone.
Yeah. We're going to edit this piece out.
Yeah.
But you see speed limit signs.
Yes.
You see them. And you, me, and everybody listening, we ignore them, right? We'll go 6 miles an hour, whatever it might be. Well, the expectation is very clear. It's 55. It's very clear. Well, guess what? What if we drove 80, 90? What if nobody ever got a ticket? What if we never heard of head-on collisions? What if have you ever heard of anybody getting a speeding ticket? I've heard about them, but I don't know anybody that's gotten one. Would you take the speed limit sign seriously? You wouldn't.
No. Yeah.
You wouldn't. There has to be accountability for the expectation to have any value at all. We can't just be great at setting an expectation. If you're going to put up a speed limit sign, you better hold people accountable. And there's very simple frameworks to do this. But look, you've set clear and reasonable expectations. By the way, reasonable is not, hey, team, thanks for joining today. We're all going to run a 4-minute mile. We what? We're doing what? Well, that's what the company needs. Okay. Well, that's not reasonable. And what are you doing? You're killing someone's confidence. One of my favorite quotes: if you lack confidence in self, you're twice defeated in the race of life. But with confidence, you have won before you begin. I love this quote. When we set unrealistic expectations, we're crushing people before the mission even begins. We have expectations. Now we meet with people on a routine basis to cover the expectation via feedback. IDPs, SMART goals, blind spots. We're doing this consistently, but they still don't adhere. They're not willing, which is all of us. We all fall into that trap. This is where the leadership currency comes into play. This is where the accountability and the tough conversations have to happen. Because without the tough conversation, you might as well take the speed limit signs down and stop giving feedback, because there's no boundary. This is what we have to do. And I give 2 techniques for accountability in the book that are simple, but require some practice to help you have the tough conversation.
Are you going to share one of those? Can you share one of those?
I would absolutely love to share one of those. I thought you would never ask, Doug. There's a couple of things that I would tell leaders to think about. One is the SBI, situation, behavior, impact. And maybe some people have heard about this, but it's a very, very simple, I don't know if I want to call it easy, but I would say that it's simple. Situation, behavior, impact. So think about the employee that interrupts you in a meeting. Don't just flip out. Don't just get emotional. Don't go down that road. Pull them in, capture the situation. This morning in the sales meeting, behavior, you interrupted me. Impact, I lost my train of thought and wasn't even able to finish the meeting well. And then intent. What were you trying to accomplish by interrupting me? Notice I didn't say, I think you're rude. Why would you ever do that to me? I don't like when you do that. No, I just stick to it. The other one that I love is the 5 accountability questions. The first question is, let's say that somebody's late to a meeting. Do you understand the expectation? Now is this a can't do or a won't do? 2, tell me what the expectation is. Now we're validating that they actually do know and we're on the same page. 3, why is meeting or exceeding the expectation good for you? i.e., I don't want my kids to have the same life I had. 4, what are you going to do differently in the future to ensure this never happens again? Buy-in. Now you're going to come up with it. I have the answer. I'm a leadership vending machine. But I want to bring you through collaboration into the accountability. And then 5, because I got to reset the table because we're dealing with humans here. If this were to continue, what do you think we should do about it? Now comes the discipline, accountability, termination, a write-up, withholding pay, whatever. But now I'm getting there together and I'm setting the table for a future hard conversation. I've had people come into my office. Hey, after the meeting, I need to see you in my office. And they'll say, where do I sign, Jeff? Before I even start talking. Because I already set the table that if you're late again within the next 2 weeks, you're going to get written up. I don't even have to open my mouth. The pen's out. They're ready to sign something. I'm not saying that's fun, but it's a far cry from people throwing chairs and punching walls, right? Because the table is set. And so those are a couple of easy frameworks that if you practice in the mirror, set that phone up and role play that, over time, it just becomes very organic and it will set you free of the dread of feedback and accountability.
It's so good. Those questions are absolutely gold. I wrote them all down, and we'll be practicing. I love what you said too about practice. Like, again, this is a skill to be learned. This isn't something you just naturally are equipped with as a leader. And so I love what you said there. You mentioned, talking about accountability, a cadence of meetings. And I think earlier the stat you gave was 21% of people have not received feedback in the last 7 days. I want to know the stat of how many people have not received feedback in the last year. A lot of organizations, the only mechanism they have for feedback is their annual review. What is your recommended cadence of accountability or feedback or one-on-one attention that we should be giving to the people that we lead?
Yeah, the best gift that leaders can give is spelled TIME, because this, success is better caught than taught. If I want to be a good golfer, I can read Tiger's book, but if I played with him every Sunday, the odds of me being a good golfer are better. So when I'm giving people time, even if I don't know what the heck I'm doing as a leader, and I don't even know what a debrief is, I don't even know what questions to ask, which, by the way, go to our website and get our free 5 questions. They're my favorite 5 leadership questions to ask in a debrief. But here's the thing, no matter what, give them your time. I love a weekly debrief. Now, here's what listeners are already saying. We ain't got no time for that. Are you kidding me? We got boxes to ship. We got things to do. Then get more leaders. Get more leaders.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, when I get called into companies, Doug, it's because they're hemorrhaging. Turnovers at 40%. Profits down double digits year over prior. What are we going to do? Jeff, bring the magic pills. First question I always ask is this. Is everybody in your company, everybody from rank and file up to C-level, everybody is getting a routine debrief? Monthly, every other week, weekly, are they getting it? And almost always the answer is no. And I say, why? We don't have time. You have to make time, because this is where transformation happens. This is where we're asking questions like, why is success important to you? Why is that meaningful to you? Well, now that I know that, if I ever saw you behaving in a way that didn't represent why success was important to you, would you want me to tell you? Yes. Great. Table set. Hey, listen, you're a little bit off on the KPI. And I know your goal was to hit this quarterly bonus because you don't want your grandma to go into a nursing home. You want her to stay with you. And this bonus is important to you. Yet I don't see your outbound cold calling reflecting that desire. How can I help? What do you need? This happens in the debrief. And this is where real transformation happens. And these annual reviews, look, if you do them, I'm not hating on you. But here's what I will say. The data is that 29% of employees believe that their annual reviews are not accurate and that they're a check in the box.
I believe that.
Why is that? Because it happens once a year and nothing happens in the previous 11 months. So they don't take it seriously. I would tell you, get rid of the cadence of an annual review and meet with people every single week, once a month, whatever it is. That's where the transformation happens. That's where you make the deposits that earn you the right to make the big withdrawal.
Wow. It's funny, when I was reviewing and prepping questions for you, the two words fragile world stood out to me in the title. And I was initially going to ask you, like, why is our world so fragile when it comes to feedback? Is it generational? Is it personalities? Is it the world we live in? Have times changed? But what I've been hearing throughout our interview is maybe it's none of those things. Maybe it's we as leaders haven't actually earned the right through caring for others to actually be able to provide feedback in a way that people will receive it. Would you agree with that, or what would you say?
I 100% would. I mean, look, there have been challenges since the beginning of time. We're never without challenges. Look, I would, because I'm living in the now, in the generation, could I make you the argument that this is the most challenging time to lead? I could make a strong argument for that. I don't know if it's true. I could make an argument for it, but here's what I do know. When you equip yourself as a leader, and you have a confidence that borders arrogance but never gets there, you see this as a duty and obligation. As a matter of fact, you look at the biggest challenges and adversity as the biggest leadership differentiator that there is. Not that you are calling for war, but if it breaks out, I'm a Navy SEAL. This is what I'm built to do. If you were a trauma surgeon, Doug, and your whole point of being in the ER was to fix bullet wounds, stab wounds, head-on collisions. We're talking immediate trauma. And you've spent 15 years of your life being one of the best trauma surgeons in the country. And you're in this city and nothing's going down. Nothing's happening. There's no cases coming in. You would get frustrated with that.
Yeah.
And then you would sit and think to yourself, I can't believe how upset I am that people aren't getting shot. This is wild. Wait, did I just say that I'm mad that nobody got stabbed today? Here's the deal. It's not that you want people to get stabbed. It's that you have prepared yourself so much to solve such a big problem that if it's not happening, I'll move to another city where it is. Leaders that have this kind of confidence, they embrace the challenge. Look, the problems aren't going away. That's why we're here on earth. Leadership is a calling. We are here to solve the world's biggest problems. That's what leaders do.
So good. The book is Firm Feedback in a Fragile World. You can get it anywhere books are sold. Amazon will include links to all of that in the show notes. Anything else you want to say on the book specifically before I start to pivot a little bit?
Don't miss out on the bonuses. My goodness sake. A shameless plug here, firmfeedbackbook.com. I mean, we have bonuses that are upwards of $500 in value, whether it's the launch team. I do a full Q&A interview chapter by chapter to help take you through it. I don't want this to be another book that people read and we're like, wow, that's good stuff. I want it to be transformational. Yeah. We have curriculum tools. These are all free during the book launch. Like, go take advantage of those so this isn't just another book in your library, but it helps you transform. Firmfeedbackbook.com. I would love to be on the journey with y'all.
So good. And, we obviously talked about the content in the book, but I also want to talk about the process to get to the book. A lot of times when I interview authors, especially first-time authors, I'm always curious what they've learned. You had a really unique experience on how you got a book deal and this whole thing happened. Can you share that and maybe share some advice you'd have for first-time authors or aspiring authors who want to do the same thing you're doing right now?
Yeah, what an event that was. Man, I just say it was a miracle. I'm nothing special. I think, I mean, look, I'll give myself a little credit because I think the listener at least needs to hear how I prepared. I had a mentor that said my first book idea was garbage, basically. So that was helpful.
That's awesome.
No, don't write a book about yourself. Nobody cares. Talk about firm feedback, right?
Wow.
So I feel like we narrowed into a topic. By the way, I took 10 years of succession planning data in that Fortune 500 company, and I used that to build this workshop that the book's written after. And so I took 10 years of data, which told us why leaders weren't promote ready. Number one, emotional intelligence, followed by number two, challenging leadership or firm feedback. I felt like emotional intelligence had been baked well. And so I went down this other path and I created this content in a workshop format. The difference between the workshop and the book is the stories that go with it. And so I think we had a relevant topic, but I presented. I mean, I practiced. I had 5 minutes to pitch this book. So I presented what I believe to be the biggest problem leaders face today, and I gave a solution to it. And I didn't focus on the cost. I didn't focus on the benefits of doing it right. My 5 minutes focused on the cost of not getting it right, because I feel like that drew more emotion from the room. So I think that those things may have attributed, but you could ask Mark and Tim. They can tell you
and for context here, because people probably don't know, you went to a book writing workshop that John Maxwell's company put on, and there was other aspiring authors there. They taught you how to write a book, but that was the 5-minute pitch you're talking about. So you give this 5-minute pitch and you won.
Yeah, I won a national publishing deal. One person was walking away with a deal. As the Lord saw it fit, it was me.
Yeah. So
here we are.
So walk us through, I don't know if it's been a year or 12 months, like what has the process been like and what advice do you have for aspiring authors?
The process has been transformational. It was January of 2024 was the event. So, I mean, we have been hard at it. I had a book outline at best when I went down to Georgia, but hadn't written a single sentence of the book. You know, I had a pitch. I was pitching a book. I didn't have a book. But I will tell you this. I barely graduated high school, if I can get vulnerable. I never did go back to college. I suck at writing, Doug. Like, I mean, horrible at writing. But what I learned through this process is that I'm not a writer, but I am an author. I am an author. And I got some help in the areas that I needed it. But this process has been transformational. Writing a book, it challenged me in ways that I didn't expect, mentally, emotionally, even spiritually. It forced me to really dig deep and challenge truths that I thought were real, and I uncovered different layers. It was refining to my thought process, and solace. I'm a fast runner. I move quick. I don't like to stand around. And so it forced me to really think through this content and where I could help leaders most. And it helped me really articulate my message of my heart more. My heart is bubbling, but how do I get that in word form? And so it helped me push through those things. And I will tell you this, I've battled imposter syndrome my whole life. I'm not ashamed to say that. There's reasons for it. But I will tell you, writing this book really helped me face some of those demons and come out the other side with a healthy level of confidence.
Wow.
And so for those reasons, I would tell you, aspiring author, you got to go for it. Commit to the process, whether you suck at it or not. Commit to the process. Done is better than perfect. You'll always find ways to tweak it. You'll always find excuses not to sit down and write. But here's the other last thing I'll say to the aspiring author. Think beyond your book. Think beyond just getting a book written. Your book is not just words on a page. It's a tool to serve other people. It's a tool to open doors, create impact. It's part of your legacy. If there's a book in your heart, you got to write it. You have to.
Yeah, well, kudos to you for having the courage and jumping in and getting the deal, and here it is. So congrats to you for writing the book. You're doing it.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I don't. Is it 5 years ago you started your business?
December of 2019. Yeah, white knuckled the whole way. I mean, I was scared to death. I actually passed out on a commercial flight, stressed to the max. Should I quit my job? Should I not? You know, I had a pending big promotion. I had a stock portfolio that was unvested that would make anybody throw up what I left behind. I was nervous as could be, but I really felt this is what I was being called to do. But it got to me so much, I passed out on a plane. That tells you the level of my faith in the moment. I was scared to death. But now looking back, it's like, wow, I can't imagine doing anything else.
Wow. Now, again, it seems like you're thriving today. Was it a straight up into the right process from 2019 to now, or what has the journey been like in entrepreneurship and making the jump for you?
It has not been a ladder. It's been more of a jungle gym, I think. I fall down and hold on for dear life to not fall off. And most days I feel like I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I'll give you an example. When I first started my business and people would be like, so how should we pay you? I'd be like, you good with Venmo? Like, I don't know. Like, I didn't even have QuickBooks. Like, I'm being totally honest here.
I love it.
I had passion. I had tons of passion. You know, get me in front of people, get me in front of a crowd, get me in front of leaders. I will pour my heart and soul into this. But man, learning curve. Oh my goodness sake. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no clue what I was doing. But failure, man, it's such a great teacher. It is such a great teacher. And I have failed more in the last 5 years than probably the last 15 combined, but I can't imagine doing anything else.
I love that. So any advice for people who are on the fence and thinking about jumping for a dream, but they're scared? Maybe they're passed out on a plane right now.
Yeah, they might be passed out on a plane right now. I think you got to be careful with YOLO. I think YOLO is overplayed right now. I really do. I think you have to put a little bit of thought into it. And my advice would be is to test the market. You know, I was having lunch with my pastor in 2019. It would have been February of 2019. And he said, I think you should start a podcast. And I said, what is it? I had never even listened to one.
That's so
I'm
funny.
just jet setting corporate, you know, running from town to town. I don't got time for a podcast. Kidding me? I didn't even know what it was. And he explains it to me. I launched a podcast thinking I was going to help the volunteer leaders in my church and our staff. I thought that was his whole thing. And I'm like, man, I don't really have time. I wouldn't even know where to begin. He's like, I'll get everything done. You just show up and talk into that magic mic. And I said,
let's go.
Let's do it. So I did. And the market responded. And the fulfillment just bubbled in me.
Yeah.
And I had to quit. Like, it wasn't like, what should I had to quit. I had to do this. And so I don't know if you have to jump off and pray the parachute opens. I'm not saying not to, but I'm saying, you know what, if apple pies are your thing, maybe you should enter one into the county fair and see if it wins a blue ribbon. I don't know. Like, you know, you can test the market and see if the market responds. But I think there are processes to do that. Now, look, if you feel called to jump and hope that the wings open up, I'm not hating on you, but I'm just saying, I don't think that's necessary. And I think it's a little bit overplayed.
Yeah, it's really good advice. As we start to wrap up, obviously people can connect with you through your book. You have a podcast, but you also do speaking, you do corporate training, you have an executive mastermind that I keep seeing pictures of, and it seems like making a huge impact. What are some other ways that if people are like, wow, I really enjoyed this, I'd love to connect with Jeff or bring him into our company, you know, how can people connect to the work that you're doing?
Yeah, jeffhancher.com, like Jolly Rancher, but with an H. I mean, it's all right there, jeffhancher.com. You know, we thrive in a couple of areas. Leadership development and consulting. You know, we do a lot of leadership training workshops, sales development and consulting, which we don't promote a lot, but don't tell anybody else this, listener, but I'm actually a little bit better at sales than leadership, I think. So we specialize in the B2B world, you know, the hunter. And so we do a ton of training around sales. Find me a stage to do a keynote, and you're going to see a grown man cry every time. I love serving people with keynotes. And then we got a lot of free resources as well. We have a podcast that comes out. Doug has been a part of our show. I'm grateful for that, Doug. That comes out every Thursday, the Champion Forum podcast. So that's how you can contact us, and we'd love to be a part of the journey with you.
I love it. Thanks for your time. Thanks again for writing the book, and we'll have to do this again sometime, but keep making a difference. You know how much it matters that you pour into leaders, so thank you for giving your life to that.
Thank you, Doug.
Hey, leader, thank you so much for listening to my conversation with Jeff. I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did. Make sure that you go out and get a copy of his book, Firm Feedback in a Fragile World, on Amazon or anywhere you find books. And while you're at it, why don't you get a dozen copies for your team as well? And again, you can find that in the show notes as well. I also want to thank our sponsor, Andosha Marketing Solutions. They're the producers of this podcast. And if your organization needs any marketing expertise at all, I wholeheartedly recommend their services. You can visit them at andosha.com. That's ANDOCIA.com. And as always, leader, I like to end with a quote, and I'll quote Tom Blanchard when we're talking about feedback. It's one of my favorite feedback quotes. He said this, he said, "Feedback is the breakfast of champions." Let's go. Well, leader, that's going to wrap up today's episode. As always, remember, don't quit. Keep leading. The world desperately needs your leadership. We'll talk to you next episode.